Today I wanted to talk to you guys about something a little bit different, and that is the attachment style theory. The attachment style theory is a direct reflection of how we were brought up and how we were cared for as babies and as children. Now, by no means am I an expert on attachment style, but I am a student always. I'm constantly learning, and I learn these things to better myself, to better my relationships, and to better you guys too. So I ask you guys for a safe space as I walk this new journey of talking about relationships, intimacy, deeper than just the bedroom. For me, learning about my attachment style has helped me tremendously in all of my relationships, but especially the ones that I hold extremely close, those romantic relationships. Just one of the things that learning about my attachment style has taught me is how to soothe myself and not expect my partner to have to fill every single one of my cups. Now, it's easier for me to say that than it is to actually do that or integrate that. However, I've been practicing this for over a year now, and I'm still working on my wounds. So before you decide to skip this video because I'm not talking about sex, I encourage you to stay because my attachment style might actually be the same, if not similar to yours. Or who knows, maybe who you lay next to also has the same attachment style. So cheers to starting this new journey of a 4-part series that we're going to be covering on the attachment styles, with my hopes that you dive in just a little bit deeper to help understand yourself and why you lean into one attachment style more than the other. With that being said, I wanted to open this container up of vulnerability. So I will go first talking about my own attachment style, which is the anxiously attached. Now, for those of you that are new to the attachment style theory, there are 4 different types. You have your securely attached, your anxiously attached, your avoidantly attached, as well as the fearful avoidant. What I want you guys to know is that you can actually flow in between all of these different attachment styles. However, you're more predominantly going to show up in one more than the others. Or even it might depend on what type of relationship it is, whether it's romantic, maybe it's family or friendship. It can really all depend. But usually we come back to one main one. Know that if any of this resonates with you, to just be soft with yourself. We are all working on trying to be the best version of ourselves so that we can show up for ourselves and for others too. The idea behind the attachment style theory is moving yourself into a more secure style. Let's start talking about the anxiously attached. This is an insecure attachment style, usually rooted in the fear of being abandoned and a deep insecurity of being underappreciated. Now, this roughly affects 20% of the population. So what are some things that dictate if you are an anxiously attached person? So for starters, one of the most common signs is that you're insecure in your relationships. The feeling of not being enough for your partner. Now, when we feel insecure in our relationships, it can really manifest in a few different ways. One way that's really common is needing reassurance all the time. And the second one being reactive. The second trait hits really close to home for me, and that is the overwhelming fear of being abandoned. Now, this isn't something that I would have ever admit had I not gone through copious amounts of therapy and still am on this exact wound and still am currently struggling with it, is the deeply rooted fear of being left or being abandoned. Now, this usually stems from the fear or that feeling of being abandoned by a parent or by somebody you love deeply as a child, or you had insecurity about the parents or your caregivers that were around you. This can show up in ways of becoming overly dependent on your partner or codependency, both being extremely hard on you and your partner. The third trait that I want to talk about is actually trust issues. Even though your partner is giving you all of the reassurance that you need and that you're asking for, you still have that fear of being abandoned or just straight up lacking trust in the relationship. The fourth one can show up as being clingy, over-reliant or over-dependent on your friends, your family, your partner. This is usually stemming from the fear of being alone. The fifth one is emotional neediness. Do you always need attention from others? This is usually coming from improper emotional nurturing and security issues that we needed when we were a child. So the way emotional neediness tends to show up is constantly needing that reassurance or soothing or just attention in general. The sixth one that I want to talk about is the harsh reaction to criticism. When people criticize you, does it have a really heavy impact on your self-esteem? This isn't uncommon for most, but people with this anxious attachment style are going to feel it tenfold. Your mind isn't letting you redirect the focus, and it's not letting you tell it that what they're saying isn't true or that it is just a criticism. So the anxiously attached might be experiencing this in more of an intense manner, letting it reinforce their fears and their insecurities, rather than using the constructive criticism to help you grow. The seventh one I want to talk about is having mixed feelings about intimacy. Do you either crave it or find it extremely overwhelming? Usually fearing or craving that emotional or physical intimacy may be due to emotional neglect. So even though you have this deep need for intimacy, you might not know how to accept it or how to even be comfortable with it. The last one that I want to talk about is the feelings of being unworthy. Not being good enough, feeling unworthy of love, unlovable, not good enough for your relationships, low self-esteem, usually stemming from insecurities or that feeling of being unwanted by your parents or your loved ones. Now, these are just 8 of the traits. Now, I want to encourage you to go venture off and try to find your attachment style when you are not in a secure space. For me personally, I used to be fearful avoidant, and yeah, sometimes I go back there, but I actually grew out of fearful avoidant or disorganized and moved into anxiously attached. You're never gonna be fully secure in every single way. All of us have little triggers, little tiny things that are just buried in us. Some people can just activate us like that, but these are things that we are working on, especially for the anxiously attached. It's really important for us to learn how to self-soothe. One of the main things that has been super helpful for me is somatic therapy and breath work, really allowing ourselves to feel those big emotions, because they are big emotions. And if we bring it back to when we were a child, what does that piece of us need to hear to make us feel safe? Because when we are anxiously attached, we have this fear of being abandoned, we feel unsafe with self, and we feel insecure in our relationship. So we're not safe within us, but we're also not safe with you either. What can we give that little piece of us, or that little girl in my case, what she needs to hear so that I'm not putting it all onto you? So I want to finish this video off with some affirmations for the anxiously attached. I trust in my ability to self-soothe. So whether that's a somatic hug, rocking, rubbing, soothing yourself. Think about a child. How would you give love to a child that is crying? How can we self-soothe? Maybe a soft touch on our face, on the front of our forehead, and the back of our neck. I love the rocking method. That is very soothing to me. The next affirmation might sound something like this. I can be that soothing parent that my inner child never had. Even though I feel very uncomfortable right now, I can tolerate the sensations that anxiety might bring. Emotional independence is a skill I can cultivate. I am worthy of love. I am worthy of abundance. I create safety in my own body. And I am so much more than just my attachment style. How can we move from anxious to secure? We need to learn how to self-regulate so that we can put healthier communication skills into practice, which will prevent us from walking into these negative communication cycles, making space for emotional closeness, empathy, and understanding, which in return will create an environment that fosters cooperation and collaboration, which will create even more emotional closeness. All right, babies, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you are new here, welcome. I am Miranda, and I am about to walk you into a different type of pleasure and a different depth of intimacy, one with yourself, so that you can bring it to your partner, so that your bedroom experience is much better and much more fulfilling, so that you guys can have emotional intimacy and just intimacy into the deepest depths. This is what we call almost like sacred sexuality meets emotional regulation meets fucking self-worth. I don't even know. This is just something that I'm so passionate about, and I've been trying to figure out how to integrate everything all together, and it just integrates by itself, honestly. So if you get it, you get it, and if you don't, you don't. That's fine. Either way, I'm happy you're here. Let me know which attachment style you want to hear about next, whether it's secure, avoidant, or fearful avoidant, or other known as disorganized. Now, I don't know how many people are going to watch this video, but I do give gratitude to the ones who have stayed. All right, babies, I will see you later for another video, probably on sex. Let's go.